Bringing you a video about a Jeep Wrangler frame repair. I have done many of these in the past. I finally at this point have decided to make just a quick video talking about this frame repair job. So a couple things to note with this. Essentially you have two cap options. One just covers the rear control arms. The other one goes all the way from the front control arm all the way back to the rear coil bucket. And I will tell you that it's really smart to just do the whole thing, because in the long run, you're going to be doing the whole thing. I will have customers that want me to do just the one section because it is a price difference, but you're going to end up spending more in the long run if you do it in two sections. It's also not as strong because you're talking two pieces versus one solid piece. So that's really the big disadvantage to going to the two separate pieces that you weld on. You will save cost and material as well that way. It's just not as strong. Another thing to note is if you are going to pay a shop to do this, you decide not to do this on your own. Not every shop is the same. Make sure that whoever they have doing a job is a good and capable welder. I've seen a lot of really bad welds on these frames. Check out this video. Tell me what you guys think. Is this something you could do in your own garage, or should you take this to a shop? Right, so I'm starting here to show you guys just how thin this frame was. You can see this Sawzall just poking through the metal with ease. This frame from the outside looked pretty good. So something too to note if you're going to look at buying a Jeep is do make sure you get underneath that vehicle, poke your head up inside, and just see how thin it is. So here in 1 second you're going to see this piece drop off and you'll see how big this hole is behind there in the frame. Okay, let's get into it. What all needs removed when doing this job? So in this job we're only going to do the rear control arm section, so I'm only going to remove the rear 4 control arms, sway bar links, exhaust from the skid plate back, rear tires, and that's pretty much it. You're going to have to pull the gas line and the brake line away from the frame here, and then just start cutting off brackets in the bottom half of the frame. After you have the control arm brackets and the sway bar link brackets cut off the inside, this is the time to cut off the bottom half of the frame. I've done this enough times, I know exactly where to cut, but I definitely advise using a paint marker to kind of lay out where you're going to cut so you don't cut somewhere you shouldn't. So definitely mark that out. You're going to cut the bottom half off. Outside, inside, all around, this whole bottom section, you're going to see that come off here in a second. This one's pretty darn full. You can see like acorns in there. It looks like this guy had some kind of rodent living in that frame. He said this sat for 5 or 6 years before he bought it. Hey Mike Rowe, if you're listening, here's a dirty job. Jeep frame repair. Here are our new frame sections that are going to go on to replace the broken off control arm mounts. And that's all cut out. These will all get painted as much as I can outside of the edges I'm going to weld before they get installed, so that way they don't start rusting immediately on the inside. Put these over the frame, mark it out with marker, and grind, rust away. It is messy, dusty. It is time to grind. Wear a mask. Gets very dusty. If I open up all my doors, I have this fan going on the ground to try to clear this out. This is the messy part. A few little modifications I do to these brackets is you can see where that's marked. I actually cut that down because that sits so high up on the frame that you can't really get a weld on it unless you have a body lift. Same thing with these. Normally the inside also does this too. I cut that back so you can get to it again. That's up inside the tub when you do that, so I like to get a weld all along as much material as I can, so I weld all this. Can't really weld where this bracket is, and then I weld back here down all the way around. So here's the next thing I do is I'll tape off all the edges that need welded, and make sure I primer, which is the primer coat, and then I will paint these before I pull the tape back off and put them up in place. Number one, because it's going to be hard to put paint inside these brackets once it's up in the Jeep. And number two, obviously you can't paint inside the frame after it's up as well. So I want to have those protected as best I can before they go in place. Just a little side note, wanted to share this little light with you guys. So I've really come to like these. I own two of them. I think they're around $30 a piece. Yeah, a couple light settings with that front light, and then it also has a point light here. You can see it lights up the area really well. It has two settings. What I really like about it is this swivels here, and I can stick it to whatever it is I'm working on, swing it down, and even if I need to kind of point into an area, I can use this setting here. So just want to share with you, and I'm going to put this on and see how it coats. I like the satin black because it looks like OEM finish when you get done. So here's one of my secret weapons to doing this job. There's a lot of spaces like up in here that need the metal cleaned, and I can't really get a blade or a flap disc in there to clean that. So this guy is great about getting in these little cracks and crevices and doing cleaning. This is my go-to. All right, we have got everything cleaned up in shiny metal where we're going to be welding inside and out. So after this, it'll be time to start placing the new sections in place and tack them up and fully weld, paint, reinstall our control arms and rear axle. Here what you're going to see me do is slip on the new cap, and then I hold it in place with multiple C-clamps, usually 2 from top to bottom and then 1 or 2 grabbing it at the side as I tack it. That'll get moved around as I tack. So the other thing you're going to see me do here is pull a tape measure, and I measure from the front control arm bolt to the rear control arm hole where the bolt's going to go through, and make sure that we're square from one side to the other. And from here, I'm just going to work around the piece, putting several tacks on, inside, outside, top, bottom, try to just move all around the piece. The most challenging part of doing the welding is going to be up inside this frame, like you can see me right here. It's just a tight fit with your weld hood on. I don't imagine ever doing this job without having a car lift to work off of. That'd be quite the pain otherwise. Not going to make you sit here and watch me weld up the whole thing. You guys get it. You're going to weld around every edge you can reach. Weld it as full as possible. Here's just a quick little video of me working my way around that piece sped up. Exciting news for you guys. If you have a Jeep Wrangler with a rusting out frame, don't bother to put new metal on. All you have to do is fill in the holes and cracks with caulk or body filler. It does just the same. Don't have to worry about that going anywhere. Alright, from here we're just going to reinstall everything you pulled back off, control arms, exhaust, all that. If you guys enjoyed watching this, please consider subscribing and go check out my other content. We do a lot of off-roading and automotive repair stuff.